Raghurama.
Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama.
Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama.
Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama.
Sita Rama, Shri Raghurama. Sita Rama, Shri Raghurama. Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama. Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama. Sita Rama, Shri Raghurama. Sita Rama, Shri Raghurama. Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama.
Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Raghurama.
Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. The feeling or the perception of alienation, the perception that something is wrong, that I am alone, aka lonely, that nobody wants me. These are all as I said, the names of the many children and grandchildren of the alienation genealogy. Yeah, alienation, alien, nation on the top, and then and then what? Unwantedness, depression, dejection, hopelessness, despair. 5 children, okay, yeah, and then so many grandchildren. Each one has 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5 means what? It's the whole family tree. And so this, even though it is experienced as real, because the experience is something that you cannot deny. That's why it is not unreal, because I experience it. You can never deny experience. That's why you cannot deny Atma, the self, at any time. Why? Because it is always experienced. It is never not experienced. But then I'm giving myself away. So, so back to this whole alienation. So here we have the perception of feeling that one doesn't belong, feeling unwanted, feeling excluded. And then what? The perception is different from what the Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, together I'm just using the, collective singular, the Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita declare to be one's nature. It's a complete contradiction. Alienated means what? There must be something other than you, and then you, correct? From which you have alienator, alienated, correct? The word alienation means there should be at least minimum 2 things are needed. It's like sometimes, this lady told me, she was shopping on the internet, and she said, I didn't end up buying anything. I just asked casually, why not? She says, because I couldn't, I realized that I could not compare things properly. I said, oh, but many times you can get a little thing that says compare, She says, I was keeping on clicking that compare button, but still it wasn't comparing. I said, did you choose at least 2 things? That's what it is. So to compare, you need 2 things for any kind of interaction, even to clap. You cannot clap with one hand, they say, and they happen to be correct, whoever they are. For everything you need at least minimum 2 things, right? Even for sadness, you need 2 things, You need yourself and the source of sadness. And then you need same thing for alienation, non-belonging, depression, dejection, feeling excluded, feeling like I'm not included, all these things, various morphings of this. And guilt, hurt, 3rd generation, of alienation. For all this, one needs to have something other to which one is relating. And what is this other? The things in the flow, the so-called alligators, all these things that we just have been talking about, these are the things to which I have to relate. And this is what is causing me consternation about how to relate to them effectively. And I'm unable to relate to them, and therefore I feel like I need to either withdraw, go lie down, or do something, but not this. This is very difficult to manage. So then, if we are coming with the premise that the vision of the Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of the Holy Gita and the Upanishads are that the self is not alienated at all. You just have to take it for now, because that will be unfolded later. And that's not actually, in my defense. That is not the topic of this, retreat. We are just talking about alienation. We'll include that also, but that is not the topic. So here, if we are going with the premise, the declaration, the proclamation of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, that the I that feels alienated, that is experiencing alienation, is not experiencing alienation. Oh, fine. Just because you said so, whoever you are, you may be Lord Krishna, whoever you are, you said so, I'm not alienated, I'm going to sit and believe you. You think it's as easy as, peeling and eating bananas? What do you think? Just because you said that, oh Lord, okay, so what? God said that. I already told you the most misinterpreted, the most misused, and the most scary word these days is God. Yeah. So if God said that, definitely I'm not going to believe. I am not alienated. Why? Give me one reason. The Upanishad is happy to oblige, so is the Bhagavad Gita. Just like that woman's unsuccessful shopping experience, there should be at least 2 things to feel alienated from. How many things are there according to the Upanishad? 1. And that one is called Tvam. Your next Sanskrit word for the day. I'm losing count, so maybe it's the 5th one. Your 5th Sanskrit word for the day, Tvam. What does Tvam mean? Actually, you should say Aham. Tvam means, when I say Tvam, and I say, what does Tvam mean? You should say Tvam means Aham. Your 6th Sanskrit word for the day. What does Aham mean? Don't say Tvam now. Don't say Tvam now. Aham is Aham. And this is a nice part where Tvam is also Aham. Aham is also Aham. Why? Because really speaking, there is no Tvam. There is only Aham. I am forced to say Tvam because I have morphed as a separate being, in the shape of the teacher, so to speak. And you are also temporarily separating yourself to understand this, and you call yourself student. That's what. That's why I'm, constrained as the Upanishad is to use the word Tvam, but when I really mean what? Aham. Fantastic. So how many ahams are there? Aham, 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 aham. Even in English, you look at the 3rd person. What's the 3rd person? He, she, it, they. Many, many he's, many, many she's, many, many it's. Okay? Yeah. And all together they are called they. And the 2nd person, you. And in Sanskrit you have you both, dual. And you all. If you're from the south, you say y'all. It's a word. Y'all is an English word in places like Georgia, where I have lived. Yeah. So that also has plural, correct? Tvam, yuvam, Yuyam, to speak in Sanskrit. And then I. How many eyes? I. I is I. All this. And then one I. Correct? And now we have very interesting predicament. So we have idam sarvam, correct? Which is all this. And then you have this fellow here. Aham. Aham, I. And your seventh Sanskrit word for the day, idam, this. Idam, sarvam, all this. Sarvam means all. Idam, sarvam. And this loner, aham. Correct? And the aham, I told you, that was the closing part of the talk last time, is that the aham is forced to relate to idam. Is it not? Yes? I have to relate with what there is. Aham is forced to relate to idam. And in the course of this relating, finds itself not a worthy relator, not a worthy relative, not a worthy player, unworthy, judgmental, self-judgmental, if not judgmental, definitely slightly mental, and an unworthy and unincluded, a disincluded player. A player who constantly wants to take the ball and go home because nobody is playing it according to my rules. This is the nature of the aham, who is feeling constantly taunted by the idam. This is what it is. This is what is that universal insecurity that I talked about. The idam, all that is here, which you are calling the flow. You means the Upanishad. I don't agree that it's the flow, It's just something there, put out there to scare me. This whole world has been specially placed, don't even ask by who, and specially placed to make me afraid and upset. And then simply you come into a spiritual setting and then it gets a nomenclature called the flow, with which I have to be always in harmony with. This is not fair, because this is something which is troubling me. You see, this is the whole relationship the person has with the idam sarvam, all that is here. And I told you that this relationship is based on not an objective reality, because if it were an objective reality, it would be perceived at all times, it would be experienced at all times. In sleep, what do you experience? Nothing? Yeah. But really, who is the one that experiences nothing? Something. Aham. Yeah. That something called aham experience is the experiencer of the fact that there is nothing to experience. It's wonderful. That is the wonder of this aham, is that everything becomes evident to this I. Everything becomes evident to aham. Grief becomes evident to aham. Fear becomes evident to aham. Anger becomes evident to aham. Sleep is evident to aham. Dream is evident to aham. Waking is evident to aham. And here's a little clue. Everything that is evident to aham is idam. Everything that is evident to aham is idam, including tvam. That's why there is no tvam, there is only aham. Yeah, it's fantastic. No, but still I am not convinced. Just because the Upanishad said, all this is just one thing, and you are not sad, you are not alienated. Why should I believe? Because it has a compelling argument. The compelling argument is that you are incomparable. That is the Upanishad's bread and butter. You are unlike anything. You are You are unlike anything because look at this. Everything becomes evident to you. The book does not make itself evident. You say, this is pustakam. 8th Sanskrit word of the day. Pustakam idam. This is a book. You are saying, you in the light of your observation, the book becomes evident to you. The microphone becomes evident to you. Computer becomes evident to you. House, your own house, becomes evident to you. Other houses become evident to you. Your own body, evident to you. Your mind, little more difficult, but evident to you. Your senses, evident to you. And who is this you? You is I, correct? We have already established that. Evident to aham. And everything that is evident to aham has to go by the name idam. There are only two things in this universe, aham and idam. So the aham is talked about as free of all kinds of problems, starting with alienation and ending there also, because there's nothing else. Aham is free of feeling lost, of feeling estranged, of not belonging. Everything, the aham is totally free. So in other words, the idam cannot act upon the aham to change it, because the nature of aham, the main nature of aham, is not to be affected by idam. If idam is the flow, then aham is unaffected by the flow. So the aham is not what I thought the aham to be. You see? This is what the whole thing is. And if the aham itself is subject to a wrong perception, think about this. I am as good as the body. That's why everybody says, I'm tall, I'm thin, no, I'm fat, I am, I am sick. This is what is called the pranic identification. How are you? Sick. How are you? Sick. And you get sick of hearing it, And then body identification, mind identification. I'm angry. I'm in a state that itself shows. And they don't mean waking state or sleeping state or dream state. They mean a state of emotional turbulence. That's what is meant by a state. I'm in a state. I'm catatonic. They say that. I'm in denial. So even when you're in denial, when you say I'm in denial, are you in denial? I'm in the know of the fact that I'm in denial. Really speaking, this is fantastic. So even when you say I'm angry, you're not angry. If you were really angry, I am anger, I am angry. If you were really angry, you would not be able to observe the anger. The aham is the one observing the idam. It never gets entangled with the idam. This is something we have to understand. It is unaffected by the idam. This is the vision of the Upanishads. And of course the Bhagavad Gita, upon which the Upanishads, which has drawn from all the Upanishads, which is based upon the Upanishads. This is the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, we have Bhagavan Krishna, getting first a big yardage of cloth to stem this river of tears. Gets a big towel and mops up Arjuna's tears. The towel can take many forms. Here the towel takes the form of a scolding. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya ajushta asvargyam klaibyam masmagamah partha. Naivetattvai upapadyate. Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam. Tyaktva uttishta parantapa. This is the... he gets scolded at first. Because someone, if they are really, crying like crazy and they have entered into a very subjective world, a super subjective world of this emotional, quote unquote reality, you have to, you have to do things to them to bring them out. If you start saying, yes, life is very hard, here is a towel, oh, that's not enough, here is 9-yard sari, oh, that's also not enough for your tears, oh, let's say what should we do now? That is okay for a friend to do. That is okay for a friend to do. That's the friend's job. If the friend starts spouting Vedanta, you will be friendless. You start teaching people you meet on the street, some casual friend, how is it going? Oh, things are so hard. You have to say, I'm sorry that things are so hard. I'm really sorry that it's difficult for you. Here, have a hanky, and you have to, this is the job of the friend. If you start saying, all this is just false, then you'll really need the retreat on how to not be alienated. So, what was Krishna in relation to Arjuna? He was a friend, yes, because he is talked about in the 10th chapter as, you are my friend. He was a friend. In fact, they used to do all naughty things together. Then why does Arjuna not get the hanky treatment from Bhagavan Krishna? Why not? Primarily because just before this scolding that I quoted verbatim from the Bhagavad Gita, just before this scolding, Arjuna says, please take me as your disciple. I am your student. Please teach me. Yeah. It's not the job of the teacher to carry hankies. Yeah. Why? Because the teacher has a different trick up the sleeve. The teacher uses a mahastra, a maha hanky. Not maha astra, maha vastra. Vastra means cloth. So this maha vastra, what is this maha vastra? A pun on maha astra. Astra means missile. What is this maha vastra? A maha vastra is that which dries up the ocean of tears where these crocodiles are living, that you thought, the crocodiles of doubt and despair are living, which you thought was the ocean of samsara. So this mahastra, mahavastra of the teacher, the teaching, is the mopping up of the tears, which are ultimately shown to be not even there. It doesn't mop up. It dries out the tears because it's really not there. This is what, that is why Arjuna begins by saying, I am not fit for this, I should not fight, they are my own people. All this we told you, that there is we talked about this in the morning, that there is a tension, a conflict between what is to be done, which is what? Get up, fight. And then what I want to do? Go home and suck on a lollipop. Mummy, that's why he addresses him as Kaunteya, Mama's boy, Partha, one who cannot let go of apron strings, because this is what he's behaving like a child. He's not owning up to the responsibility. And so he's shaken out of his tears enough to pay attention to the first part of the teaching, which comprises the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So he's shaken up and woken up. Although they say you should not shake babies, but he's not a baby, he's just behaving like one. So by these, he's verbally shaken up by the words of Bhagavan Krishna. This is not the Arjuna I know. I'm just translating the scolding. What happened to your valor? What happened to your bravery? Don't you see that everybody is staring at you and here you are crying, weeping in your chariot? Shameless one. Get up. And looks like your stint as a transgendered person in the 13th year of the exile has not worn off. Because that's what he did. Arjuna, it was very difficult. They had to have 12 years of what is it called? Exile in the forest, and 1 year of what is called Ajnata Vasa. Ajnata means living incognito. This was their condition for losing the game of dice. And certain people are easy to hide. Nakula, Sahadeva, they are easy, not very difficult. But Bhima, 7 foot 8 inches and as wide and huge, where are you going to hide him? Make him a cook, Yeah. Don't come out even for grocery shopping, he was told. You just make a list and put it under the door, we'll get it for you. 1 ton of pumpkins he would order, perhaps. And Arjuna, so brilliant, so full of valor, and he cannot stand injustice even to the slightest degree. If he was alive now, he would have just been all over the place. He is such a righteous person, so dharmic. Where are you going to hide him? Because if he sees, a tussle between 2 peasants, he's going to intervene and, make it okay and draw attention to himself. Put him in the women's wing. Yeah. Where he posed as a transgendered person to teach women song and dance. Literally. This is what he did. And he calls him that. He says, Klaibhya. Klaibhya means you're not behaving like the person you are. Because it's not easy to be a transgendered identity. It's not easy. First, there is this deep doubt within oneself. I have a certain, assigned gender to which I don't feel like I belong. I'm alienated from that assigned gender. And then, not as though that was not enough, the whole society has ganged up on this person. There is trauma from all the societal, what should I say, wrong ways of behaving, intolerant ways, because people are only used to two kinds of genders. They cannot understand this. They cannot understand why and what is all this. They don't understand. And there is fear. Because there is non-understanding, ignorance, and fear, there is a bad treatment. So, there is these kinds of things. So it's not easy. And here he says, get out of this doubt. Get out of this despair. This doesn't belong to you. Come back to who you originally were. Na etat tvai upapadyate. This does not befit you. Kshudram, you have parsimony of thought. You're not thinking properly. You're not going beyond, these are my people, I don't want to fight the war, but I am here in the middle of the war. You're just like a broken tape, saying the same thing. And looks like your heart has been transplanted for a chicken heart. Puk, 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 all the time. Any slightest thing happens. This is called Hridaya Daurbalyam, Durbalata. Uttishta. First, forget fight. Get up. You're not to be seen seated in the chariot. Get up. This is not the teaching. This is drawing someone's attention to the teaching by getting them out of this vat of misery in which they have plunged themselves. He is, brought out, given CPR. This is CPR. CPR means just temporary till you go to the hospital, one will last. That's all it is. CPR doesn't replace treatment. It's emergency, measures. That's all it is. Emergency measures till you get looked over in the hospital, till you make the ambulance ride. That's all it ensures. So here too, this scolding acts like a CPR, where he's able to, his sobs are reduced to sniffles, and he's at least able to sit and pay attention to what is being taught. And the teaching unfolds beautifully. Bhagavan Krishna starts off by saying that you are in this situation because you are grieving over that which must not be grieved over. Again, who are you to tell me? This is what the modern person will say. Who are you to tell me what I should not grieve over? Just like once I was attending some talk by Swamiji in some other town, and Swamiji asked the question, who in the world wants to be unhappy? Is there anybody who wants to be unhappy? One person raised the hand.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And Swamiji was just like, okay. And then some other people said, Swamiji, please don't regard him, please go ahead. He was well known in the community for maybe being a rabble rouser or, we don't know. So this is how it is, Here he is told, you are grieving over that which shouldn't be grieved over. It's like saying, who wants to be unhappy? Arjuna could have well said, who are you to come in the way of my grief? See, you even own up the grief. That's what gives grief. You own up the grief, you hug it, you put it to bed with you, and then what else do you expect? Of course you don't sleep well, because it's kicking in the night all this time. So here he could have said, who are you to tell me? Because it is my grief, and I will very well cry over whatever I want to cry over. Who are you to tell me that you should not grieve? Again, I told you Krishna is not a friend. This you should never tell a friend. Yeah. This is not something to tell a friend. Oh, your dog died. This is not something to cry over. You cannot say that. That's a terrible thing to say if you're a friend. But I tell you, here the situation is one of what the teacher is telling the student. The rules of engagement are very, very different. And therefore it is allowed because the teacher is not trying to be cruel. The teacher is trying to point out the fact that there is really nothing to grieve here. There is really nothing to be aggrieved because the idam is not a cause for grief. Why is the idam not a cause for grief? It is not. Yeah. Aham is uninvolved with idam. So idam cannot come and say boo and make me scared. Because the I, defined by the Upanishad, is free of fear and sorrow. This is what the nature of this I is, free of fear and sorrow. So the idam cannot sneak up, and say, I got you. Not possible. So idam is not a cause for grief. So therefore you have no right to grieve. If the grief does not rest on idam, where should it rest? Aham, because there are only two things. Ayyayo. If the aham is a cause for grief, if the sorrow is the nature of I, if the sorrow resides in I, then we've had it. Correct? We've had it. There's no place to go. You can, say tata to the retreat. Nothing. You can just wave goodbye. Even as you're experiencing the waves of sadness, one sad wave goodbye. That's all you can do. But we just determined that the sadness is not the nature of the I, because if sadness, alienation, whatever, and its children were the nature of I, then I cannot be without them at any time. Svabhavasya na nivrittihi. There is no freedom from one's own nature. You can't have For example, a cold fire. Can you have cold fire? You cannot have a cold fire. Can you have hot ice? Only in that balm. There is one balm, says hot ice. Very confusing it is. If you have a spray in and you put it, you don't know if you're cold or hot. So barring that brand name, can you have hot ice? Even though when you put the ice on the counter, it is smoking, but it's not hot. It's cold smoke. Why? Because neither the ice nor the fire can give up their nature. That's why it is called nature, that which cannot be given up. Swabhava. Swasya bhava. One's very being. This is one's very being in terms of what is belonging to me, what is me, and what is not. And either way, he says, Bhagavan says to Arjuna, either way you look at it, Aham cannot scare you. Aham is not the monster that is scaring you and making you sad. Why? Because the Aham happens to be, the nature of Aham happens to be free of sorrow. And what to talk of Idam? Idam cannot make you sad because the Idam is that which becomes evident to Aham. Idam becomes evident to Aham, not the other way around. In fact, the whole world of Idam, we'll take it a step further, is upheld by Aham. Aham upholds the Idam. Whether you talk of the galaxy, the black holes, the asteroids, the comets, stars, planets, everything is Idam. Right down to this body. Idam, 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 Idam. This Aham, unlike anything else, unlike anything at all, unlike the whole world of objects, is this subject, and the word subject is the only thing that is worth being called I. So we have dismissed the I of having any notions of sorrow according to the Upanishads. Why? Because all that is here is Aham or Idam? Aham. Oh, now this is very confusing. Because not only have you dismissed the I as being subject to sorrow, you have also dismissed Idam. This whole world of Idam. Ayyo. And then you are saying, go with the flow. Where is the flow? There is no flow. There is no flow? No flow. Then no go. There is nothing to go. Nowhere to go. Nothing to come towards, nothing to approach, nothing to avoid, nothing to teach, nothing to learn, nothing to talk about, but nothing to keep quiet about either. No student, no teacher, no book, no microphone, no live stream. In fact, there is going to be no live stream starting. Yeah, but later we'll talk about that. So, it's just replaced. Replaced.
That is so fair.
Replaced. It's going to upgrade itself, that's all. So, nothing is here. See, the thought of not having live stream is, is making people panicked. That means what? That means that the Idam. But this is a different Idam. This is the Idam that is helping me, I'm warming up. That is helping me understand the Aham, correct? Yeah, so this Idam is okay. Yeah. So, but really speaking, this Idam also is eminently falsifiable and falsified, best falsified, because really speaking, if there is only Aham, then there is no Tvam. Then what are you and I doing here? Juggling some words of the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, man mana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru. What is all this? Why do we have to study? What is there? You are whole. I am whole. In fact, there is no I. The I in me is the I in you. There is no I. There is no you. There is all this one thing that I call I, sometimes you, sometimes he, sometimes they, sometimes she, sometimes it. All there is one whole. Just like even our wonderful example. Kimetat? Pot. Pot. This is the ancient teaching tool right from the Upanishad. Which Upanishad? Chandogya Upanishad. Which chapter?
6.
Abba. Wonderful. In the 6th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, we have a dialogue where the pot is used. Dialogue between a father and a son. The father says, what? Father says to the son who has just come back from Vedic University. Oh, in Iowa, Maharshi University? No. Ancient Vedic University called Gurukula, where the student used to go reside with the family of the Guru and learn things, not necessarily Vedanta, but all other subjects, mathematics, geography, chandas, prosody, all these things. Veda recitation, all the, whatever the modern children learn in school. This is called Guru School. And by a special sandhi, it becomes Gurukul. Gurukula. Kula means family. So goes and stays. And Shvetaketu was sent when he was 12 and came back when he was 24. He went for 12 years. And then after he came back, he was acting insufferably proud. Anuchana mani. Insufferably proud. He just showed off as soon as some guests came to see him, friends of the parents, he would start belting out Samavedic hymns. Ha, ha, ha. He would start, chanting just because he wanted to show off what a good Samavedi he is. Why Samaveda? Because Chandogya Upanishad is from the Samaveda. So we don't assume, in another place it is said that he learned the Samaveda. And, for no reason he would start solving calculus problems on the walls and, things like this just to show off. The father and mother looked at each other and said, we have to do something about this. Because the father was a great scholar of Vedanta. In another Upanishad, he comes as a teacher of Vedanta. Even here, he is a teacher of Vedanta. Uddalaka, the father, said, Shvetu, come over here. I think for you and I, we need to have a talk. Why, Dad? I'm just getting close to E is equal to MC squared. I'm getting close to solving this. Put that chalk down and come here. He sits down, he comes, and he says, the teaching then begins. He says, the father asks, do you know this knowledge by which everything is as good as known? Do you know this? And what does he say? No, I don't know this. Is there such a knowledge? He says. And that's when the ancient pot comes into play. Dug up from the ruins of the Mohenjo-daro, Harappa civilizations. Pots are very ancient. Everywhere you find the ceramic things. This one has not been dug up from that. Yeah. So, then, he says, look at this pot, Shvetu. This is a pot, undeniably a pot. But really speaking, what is it made of? What is the source of it? Clay. He says there are two ways to approach this world. One is a non-way, but just for the sake of counting, we'll call it a way, tentative way. Is to count all the pots in existence. Ceramic, metallic, everything. Paper pot, plastic pot. And then do a PhD on each of them, the various undulation, the shapes, the form, the size, the color, the smell, everything. The different kind of glaze. That's why we have a few others here. And you can do a PhD on this pot. Which one? And say, oh, aristocratic pot has a glaze, royal blue glaze. Yeah, royal pot. And this one, everyone is jealous of this one. True Indian pot, American pot. Correct? And then what? Siamese pots, because they are stuck to each other. I have tried very hard. So many times I tried. Okay, non-Siamese pot. This one came out because this one, is decked out here. It's got the word Rama on it. Yeah, very nice. Beautifully decked out. Finally decided to come out and show itself. Today is a good day. Yeah. But now has gone back. Yeah, difficult to come out now. So, you can sit and do a PhD on each and every pot. Or, what's the easier way?
Study clay.
Study clay. That's all it is. Forget the pot. Study clay. Do your PhD on clay. Forget the pot. Forget the pots, because the pots are all what? Idam, 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 idam. Relative to the pot, the clay is aham. Yes. Clay here is aham. Pot is idam. It is a relative example. Don't go away thinking I am clay. That's not, that's not the teaching. Okay? Yeah. Relative to this example. So there are two ways to go about it. You can either eat directly, or you can take the food and then go like this and then feed yourself. Correct? So if you do the pot study of every individual pot, you will need several lifetimes to finish these PhDs. That is like eating roundabout. What Uddalaka tells Shvetaketu, the sun, is that you have what? You have to just look at a lump of clay. Study the lump of clay. And he says, Ekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayam vijñātam bhavati yatha. Just as knowing this one lump of clay is also here. One lump of clay. Cherry Creek, yeah. So, this one lump of clay, if you know all the pots for free. Yeah. If you know clay, the pots come along for free. You don't have to do a thesis on each and every pot. But I like that blue pot. The blue pot will come along. But the clay is not blue. Don't get into the blues because the clay is not blue. What is the blue pot underneath the blue color? Clay. So don't get all blue because the clay is not blue. Choose the clay over the glitz, the bling and the glamour of the pot world. No pun intended here, okay? Pot also means something else. You have to be careful these days. Yeah. Huh?
We're in Eugene.
We are in Eugene, that's why I have to say these things. So, this is the whole teaching. It's so beautiful. Choose the clay, know the clay, and when you know one lump of clay, that it is cold, it has a coolness, you know. Even if you heat it up, the heat is borrowed after the heat goes. You know, you make these tandoori rotis on the back of a pot. Rumali rotis. Rumal means hanky, handkerchief. So the roti, the chapati is as thin as a handkerchief. Yeah. Made of the finest muslin here. So the pot is heated up to make this chapati, but after you put it out, after 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, it cools down again. So the nature of the clay is cool. Earthy, of course it is earth. And then what? It is got a certain smell, like when the rains freshly come after a long time. The fresh rain smell, that is the smell associated with the earth. So these are all the characteristics of the clay. Then you can further study that if you make it into a shape, it is malleable. It's not, if you add water to it and throw it on the wheel, on the potter's wheel, it is malleable. Or even if you can make a little clay chapati with a rolling pin, just for fun. And then what? Not only is it malleable, it can be made to harden. You can study all this. How? By exposing it to the sun. Strong sun, and if you want it harder, put it in the oven. Bake the clay, put it in, it's not called oven, it's called kiln. Yeah. Put it in the kiln. And then what do you have? You have this minted pot. The whole pot world comes out of this, and the whole pot world shares the nature of this clay, the DNA of the clay. Cool, has got this particular smell, has got this particular color. These are the three, things that we can say are not belonging to the pot. Who are they belonging to? Clay. In fact, the pot doesn't even have really an existence. It is just a word and a meaning of that word. That's all it is. Word and meaning, 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 name and form, name and form. Name is word, meaning is form. Everything is like this, so you can have 1,000,000 pots. But if you know one clay, you're the knower of clay, then the pots come along for free. And Shvetaketu is completely engaged, he's brilliant. And he says, please tell me this again. One more time. Please, I want to hear it again. And the next example chosen by Uddalaka is even more befitting than pot and clay, because the pot actually undergoes through some heat treatment and is significantly different from clay. I can massage the clay. I can't do that to the pot. It will become crackpot, So, he gives an example which is even more befitting. Gold and ornaments. You can have 1,000,000 ornaments. How many golds? Golds. One gold. One gold. Out of that same gold, the shine of the ornament belongs to the ornament or the gold? Gold. The weight of the ornament is the weight of gold. The glitter in the ornament belongs to gold. What is ornament then? What is chain? A series of golden links put together. That's what is called a chain. In fact, we shouldn't say golden links. In the word golden and links, which is the adjective and which is substantive?
The link is the adjective.
Link is the adjective? No. Golden. Yeah, link is the substantive. Gold is adjective, that's why you have the word golden chain.
Oh, grammatically. Okay.
Yeah, grammatically. Yeah, not Vedantically. We are coming to that. But Vedantically speaking, what is the substantive? Gold is the substantive. You have to say linky gold, not golden links. Yeah, you have to say linky gold. But the language also, what's the word for it? Reproduces self-ignorance collectively. So that we can feel happy, everyone is ignorant. Okay, thank God it's not just me. See, even in the language, see, I'm not so badly off. Yeah. It should never be just me because that's alienation. That's why we love the fact that self-ignorance is universal. We love that fact because there is safety in numbers. There is happiness in numbers. We are in this together. There is a certain togetherness. There is community. And then spending the whole Thanksgiving weekend and sitting in a room like this is justified because there are a few other foolish people like me doing this very thing. So I'm not so badly off. I'm okay. Because see, there are other people also. So you get some little vicarious enjoyment.
Alienated.
No longer alienated. That was the point. So Shvetaketu, the second example that he studies is this of gold and ornament. It's amazing. And this is something which, when you look at this, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. One time, Swamiji went to inaugurate a newly built gold shop. He knew the jeweler, and the jeweler said, I'm having an inauguration of my shop. Please come at 11 o'clock. Swamiji said, okay. Went there, and he says, as a token of a blessing, please pick one thing from this shop. There were cases full of shining chains, shining bangles, shining earrings. Earrings that started from the ear and ran to the toes, that many different varieties. Shining ornaments, big shop, all glitter. He had put lights and mirrors to reflect the glitter. Please take one thing. No, I'm a sadhu. What will I do with gold? No. To bless me, take one thing. Because if you take one thing, then everything will be sold. He says, be careful what you ask for. Because I don't look at things the same way as you do. No, Swamiji, please take one thing. He says, I choose the gold. No ornament for me. That fellow would have become pauper. This was just a joke that Swamiji said and left the shop. He would have been pauperized because if you take one thing means there's only one thing. Take one thing means take the gold, finished. Done. But, this knowledge is like that. It is easy to assimilate when you look at these examples. Pot, clay, ornament, gold. Only thing is they don't have human minds. Otherwise this would be strutting around. I'm famous. No one is so cute. I may be useless. What will they do with me? But I can be a show-off. I can, do lots of things. And then it has an even more hubris. I'm a Vedanta teaching pot. I'm not like this flower vase, just holding water and keeping the flowers. That's just external beauty. I help show people their internal beauty. I am a Vedantic teaching pot, high above the rest of the universe. But don't hold me like this with 2 fingers. Why not? I'll fall. I thought you were a Vedantic teaching pot. That doesn't mean I learn everything I teach about. This is what it is. Then you have this one has its own problem. I'm the original crackpot. Literally, if you come closely, I invite you to all after class to come and examine this pot. I don't know how it is alive. It is on life support. Yeah, it's on life support. Yeah, totally life support. Yeah, they think the class has ended because it's just 12. Yeah, so good timing, but I'm going to take a few more minutes. And this pot is not afraid anymore of being held like this because it's been cracked and broken so many times. And unlike Humpty, it has been put together. Which Humpty? Humpty Dumpty. And last name Dumpty. And crackpot. This has its own problem. Oh, nothing works. I've just got so many cracks. I'm sick. I'm on life support. I don't know when I'll go. I'm so small. Not as small as this one, but I'm not as cute either. But still, I'm small. I'm upset. This is its story. And then we have some more stories. Really? I thought we have exhausted all the stories. This one also feels alienated. I'm far away from my country. I'm an undocumented immigrant.
Alien.
I was a stowaway in the Swami's suitcase coming over here. Thank God Obama did something about immigration, but who knows what will happen. I still have to stay hidden. Once in a while I come out in a safe crowd where no one, is able to in safe people who will not report me. But otherwise I'm in lots of trouble. Plus, what kind of food they eat here. What is this they do? Funny people. And I'm watching and I'm just appalled. What kind of culture is this? How they talk, how they walk, and what is this? I'm so homesick. The homesick pot. Oh, there are even more stories. Yes. Then there should be even more pots. Yes. Yes. There are even more stories, even more pots. Really, this one says, what is this? What am I? I'm a thimble? No, too big. So, but what am I? And this one says, you just, stop talking, what am I? And I have this funny two handles on one side. Doesn't make sense at all. What am I? This one says, I don't know what I am either, but I don't like that there's one more just like me. I want to be unique. And this one also says, I don't know what is going on over here. They all commonly have one big complaint. What is that complaint? We never get to see the light of day. We have no job satisfaction. Once a year she brings us out in retreats. And then after that, we are stifled in this tissue paper, cruelly, and put in this velvet box and suffocated. And nobody even appreciates us. They just dust the surface and go away. This is what happens when there is pot buddhi. What is pot buddhi? Pot thinking. Pot thinking means that which has identified itself with the name and the form. The lament is ensuing from the name and the form. So that is what is called pot buddhi, pot thinking. Pot thinking where everything goes to pot. This is what it is. Everything is just useless because I am as good as the name and the form. This pot buddhi is a dangerous buddhi for overcoming alienation. There's something we have to do. What is that? Have clay buddhi. Not buddhi, clay in the buddhi. No. Clay-like buddhi in the sense that the identification comes from the clay. And then these two then somehow, because of previous good karma, got enrolled in an ashram. They went to a guru pot. Yeah. Pot guru. Not pot-bellied guru, pot guru. And the pot guru taught them, hey, the problem is you are grieving over that which should not be grieved over. Why? You're not a pot. Oh, I'm not a pot? I'm a celebrity? Yes. You're nothing like you. Nothing unlike you. You're incomparable. You're the only celebrity that is worth being called a celebrity. It's worth a celebration. That's what you are. Oh, what am I? You are clay. Oh, don't say that. Clay is God. I can't be clay. Clay is God. I am at best odd. Clay is the cause. I am what? Because clay is all. I am small. So how can I be clay? How can I be God? We'll find out at 4:30. To be continued. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So any questions are there that cannot wait till the evening? And what do we have to do for lunch? Who is picking it up? Ram, yeah, please carry on. Go pick it up and come. It's paid for and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's paid for and everything?
He's got the
Okay. Yeah. So, any questions are there that cannot wait till tonight? Yes.
So where does that identification come from?
Ignorance. The wrong identification with everything that is limited comes from ignorance connected to the self-ignorance. Yeah. When the ignorance goes, the identification also goes. Wrong identification.
Just some people saying farmers wanting to read
Oh.
Tamiya.
Hmm?
Tamiya. About Namaste Swami Niji. It is wonderful to listen. I regret I could not be there personally.
Who is that?
Tamiya.
Spelt?
Thammaniah.
Tamaya. Yes. Tamaya ji. Okay. Padmini is there? Very nice.
Trupti.
Wonderful.
This morning there was 18 people.
Very nice.
Faith is here.
Faith is also there? Very nice.
So you need to be able to listen.
Wonderful. Good, good, good. Yeah, 4:30 will be the next class. Did we chant the closing prayer?
Yes.
Yeah, done.
Swami Niji, you have mentioned about live stream now. I'm wondering.
Yeah, live stream is just going to be, no need to panic. It's just going to change avatar. What is avatar? Yeah, it's just going to go into a different avatar. Now it's going to become Kalki for Kali Yuga. No, it is. It's just going to go into a different avatar. There are two kinds of live stream. One is called livestream.com and the other one is called newlivestream.com because it's new. Okay, there's no other reason. Yeah. So now the newlivestream.com, see, nothing to panic. In fact, there's a lot of good news. In the newlivestream.com, it's just like the little device that you have if you have cable TV at home. If you have cable TV at home, I have heard that it is possible to pause the program and then, redo something and then go back to the program without having missed anything. That's what you will be able to do. If the mind goes away, Or, while you're listening, you can pause, go back, go back a little bit, rewind, and listen without missing the whole thing, even live. Yeah, that shows that it's truly timeless, because it's all happening timelessly, it's unfolding. Even you can stop back 100 times, but you're still in live time. That's why it's called new live stream. It deserves to be called new. So now there is this migration effort. See, all this we did not know. 1 year ago, maybe, or 2 years ago? 2 years ago this started? 2 years ago. 2 years ago we were just happily teaching and not really thinking about all this. Now, there is so much paraphernalia, because someone from Singapore sponsored this, was kind enough to sponsor this, and they had this installed and sent us the camera, sent us all the accoutrements to be able to broadcast it, so you can be sitting in your own house and taking this retreat. Not allowed if you live in Eugene, okay? Yeah, so yeah, or Venita, correct. So, high technology, correct. So then we have this, so they sponsored this, and then now they found out about the new live stream, and they are very cutting edge people, and so now they want to migrate everything that is here and do not worry about the archives, because we have heard from a very reliable source that the archives are now taking a little trip and going and sitting in YouTube. All the classes will sit in YouTube, and then the new live stream will be starting December 1st, very soon.
Or on the Advaita Academy.
Yeah, or on the Advaita Academy website. We will upgrade our website to show the newest information accordingly. So no need to worry. It's all good. It's better.
Worldwide now.
Worldwide, yeah. Yes, whoever wants. This is not for everyone. This is for people who have that curiosity, who am I? And who take that curiosity seriously. It's a great blessing. Yeah. The nice thing is, it's just so relaxed. You can just listen. You don't have to do anything. Nothing is expected. There is no doing. You discover a sense of being that transcends the doing. It is really amazing. So therefore, it's a cognitive pursuit, in the sense that the self-ignorance cannot be dismissed by any other means, because the ignorance is in a different realm than the doing, because the ignorance is of the infinite, that is I. The doing is always finite, which is confined to limited things. Even if you do endlessly, what you do is limited. And the fruits or results of the doing is also limited. Karma, limited. Karma phala, the results of the doing are also limited, finite. So the results of the doing is not, this is not a result of doing. Moksha is not a result of your doing, because moksha is already you. That freedom which we touched upon it last night is already you. It's an accomplished fact. So how can you accomplish an accomplished fact? You cannot. Then what am I doing here? Because I don't know that it is an accomplished fact. Therefore walks in the knowledge, self-knowledge, which repatriates you to your true identity as a glorious, resplendent, self-effulgent being who is none other than Bhagavan. Oh, I have given away again. That is what we are discussing.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, correct. Here's a spoiler, big spoiler. Yeah.
What to do with the raga dveshas,
Put them in a box. Yeah. First we suspend them, raga dveshas. First we suspend them. Meaning, it's not easy to eliminate them immediately, correct? So we don't even talk of elimination, we talk about reduction and suspension. Reduce means you don't act on it. So it's just like a tumor which is receiving blood supply and growing bigger. And these days they don't operate. They don't operate, especially if it's in a difficult situation. What they do is they do some kind of a catheter and send in something that blocks the blood supply to that tumor. And then, it dies off. As it dies off, it's very painful, I heard. Especially like these, uterine tumors or sometimes in the stomach where it's difficult to operate, they will do this. And they will do this so that it does not, so it has to be benign. This is there. So when the blood supply is gone, the tumor automatically shrinks. If you keep feeding it, the tumor grows bigger than the stomach in which it is there. Correct? Yeah. And we hear stories like this all the time. This woman thought she was pregnant and happily growing, and then it turns out that it was just a huge, twin-sized tumor. This is what it was, 15 pounds they took out. This is what it is. So, like this, the raga dveshas are a growth. We can make it, to assimilate them as a growth that grows on more and more feeding. So you withdraw the attention from them. I have to have this, you first defer it. It's just like you do to children, Same thing you do to children. Yes, you can have another candy, but at 4 o'clock, when I won't be at home. That time you can have it. So, so I don't have to deal with the aftermath. And in fact, they are talking about this in parenting also. Delayed gratification. This is what they are talking about. Deferred gratification. Which this country doesn't know. Because this country is all about instant gratification. Now. In our country, we don't have anything like this instant gratification. If you want something now, you'll be lucky if you get it 2 lifetimes later. That's it. Nothing is happening now. Yeah. So, that's why it's a great blessing to be born in India, because you're already qualified for moksha after living there for a few years. Because you never get what you want, you never get what you like, because there is, 1 billion people. Come on. 1.2 billion people. And everybody is this many resources. And forget privacy, Your place at the end of the couch is your room. That's what it is. That's where it is, I read recently that there was a place, the income tax people raided one apartment, but they had difficulty finding out who lived there because there were 18 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh.
This is how it is. And also, not just because there are people, because the culture of raising the children is very different there. People is one thing, it's not because one is fighting for resources like this Black Friday sale, each one is pulling on this. That's not what it is. That's just a, after effect of that. But really speaking, the child rearing comes from the knowledge, from the vision that is so deep. And in this vision, what do we have? We have this most beautiful understanding that the raga dveshas must not be allowed to take over the child. So what's for breakfast? Nobody asks. No mother asks the child, honey, the 2-year-old can't even talk. What are you going to have for breakfast? Pancake, cereal, and this is something that, the early childhood people found out. Early childhood education, people who do, is that children under 3 learn language by repeating the last word that you have spoken. Cereal or pancakes? Pancakes. Then you change it. Pancake or cereal? Cereal. It doesn't know what it is choosing. It is too small to make a choice. In fact, at that age, choices are oppressive. They are very oppressive because the child just wants to be free, wants to discover its world, wants to be curious, wants to be happy, and it should just be protected and allowed to have a childhood. Because with choice comes responsibility. Oh my God, if I have cereal, what will happen? Oh my God, if I have pancakes, oh my God. All this the child should be spared of. So from the childhood we train. Breakfast is what's for breakfast. Oh, but I don't like it. All right, you'll definitely be hungry by lunch. The Indian mother never panics. If you don't like lunch, you will make a big repast out of the dinner. Yeah. You will love the dinner, no problem. This is what the whole thing is. It's not, it's a very compassionate form of child rearing where these ragadveshas are nipped in the bud. But we can help ourselves even now by rearing the inner children, which the ragadveshas are just a bunch of inner children. So you can raise the inner children with the same love and compassion that the quintessential Indian mother gives to her child. Same thing. I want it. Not now. Not now, darling. Later, perhaps. Not now. No, but I want it now. So the deferment itself makes it lose teeth. Yeah. It becomes a Buddha. Buddha means old man. And then it dies away because you're not paying attention to it. This is what the whole thing. Just like the tumor. So first you learn to delay it, means you suspend it, and then you reduce it. Reduce, suspend, reduce. That's how you tackle it.
Our role models for parenting ourselves, if they come from our own parents, like I was raised very strictly.
Yeah.
I imagine it was very lovingly.
Yeah.
In my ignorance as a child, I suffered.
Yeah.
And when I tried to rear my own ragadveshas,
Yeah. In that way.
in that way,
Ah.
it comes out,
They will rebel.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good.
It's not good. That's a wonderful thing you said. Because if the role models are your own parents, then you will be doing the same thing to the ragadveshas that you didn't like, So you will have a ragadvesha about the ragadveshas. Then this is getting into infinite regress. Yeah. That's why the Upanishad is called the mother of all of us. She's got the healing touch of 1,000 functional mothers. This one's Adi Shankara calls it. Sahasra Matravat, like 1,000 loving mothers she raises. This is a very good, so everybody has had a strict upbringing, strict in so many ways. And, and they are suffering, many people. And even if they've had a permissive upbringing, they are still suffering. This is something which is very important to learn. They don't know what is right, they don't know what to do, which should they choose, oh my God, what to do, both of them are painful. So therefore, we learn to parent by being gentle with ourselves. That gentleness, because in everyone is an inner cop, always saying, show your identification, limited identification. Show yourself, what are you doing? Fee, blowing the whistle. There is a whistle-blowing cop sitting inside. And that one has to be silenced first. Give him a lollipop first, and then deal with the rest. That's what it is. So, that's why this knowledge is wonderful, because it really deals with who you are. It's not just something you study. It's not something other than you. It's all about you. It's all about what? Aham. It's all aham. How the aham swallows up the idam. Yeah, I'm giving it away again. Yeah. Aham goes gobble gobble to the idam. Idam never gobbles the aham. Not possible. So therefore, we have to be gentle. One has to be gentle with oneself. That is a true sign of being a Vedantin. Who is a Vedantin? One who is in Vedanta.
Anthony is saying, I panicked about live stream. Thank you for the information.
Yeah, it will just migrate. So if you log on later and find out none of the files are there, go to Advaita Academy website or YouTube. It will all be there. Where will it go?
And Jagdisha says, donut for the inner cop.
Yeah, give a donut. Very good. Jagdisha has a good sense of humor. Yeah, give it a little donut. Be nice, Because you cannot be, stringent about saying, I'm going to remove all the desires. Because that itself becomes a desire. I want to remove desires. That becomes the want.
Yeah.
So, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता हे सुख शांति निकेतन हे हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता हे सुख शांति निकेतन हे सुख शांति निकेतन हे प्रेम के सिंधु दीन के बंधु प्रेम के सिंधु दीन के बंधु प्रेम के सिंधु दीन के बंधु दुख दरिद्र विनाशन हे विनाशन हे दुख दरिद्र विनाशन हे दुख दरिद्र विनाशन हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता हे सुख शांति निकेतन हे Om Tat Sat. I think the lunch has arrived, so we will stop here and reconvene at 4:30.
Pavo's still there, yeah?